Welcome to this video about effort, one of the 4 frictions mentioned in the book The Human Element, written by Nordgren and Chantal. My name is Colette Hopshin, and I'm Associate Director for Faculty Professional Development in the Center for Faculty Development, and Associate Dean and Associate Professor in the Elbers School of Business and Economics. I am a management scholar and spend much of my time investigating what makes work fun and meaningful, and conversely, what makes work a drag and painful. I've learned that organizational change has the potential to be both a source of meaning and dread. At the recommendation of David Green, Director for the Center for Faculty Development, I read Nordgren and Chantal's work because they delve into that aforementioned dread by describing frictions or challenges to organizational change and corresponding strategies for minimizing their impact. On behalf of everyone at the Center, we hope this series of videos helps you manage your own change processes and innovations. In this video, we will define effort and explain why it is a friction. Thereafter, 2 main strategies will be presented, creating a roadmap for behavior and streamlining behavior. You will see how each strategy relates to different dimensions of effort, namely the effort involved in figuring out what to do, and separately, the effort involved in carrying out a challenging process. Please record any notes, comments, or questions as we go along so that we connect in the future to address your queries. Now, let's get started. In the classroom, one of my favorite discussions concerns the elements needed to create meaningful work. That discussion is not only about job design, like creating opportunities to communicate the work's purpose, but it's also tapping into employee motivation. Conventional wisdom and what psychologists call the law of least effort paint the picture of unmotivated humans, or at best, calculating beings trying to figure out if something is worth the effort. And that is indeed what Nordgren and Chantal are tackling when they say that effort is a friction. Because people want to conserve their energy and can't perform their calculations without first putting in the work to figure out all the parameters of a situation, it is very challenging to motivate people to adopt new innovations and ideas. The authors provide this example to illustrate our dilemma. Today, we are used to streaming music on our phones because it's convenient, but we sacrifice music quality. Audio files have to be a certain size, and to achieve that, parts of the music are discarded to make the file smaller. In this example, you can see how the convenience of getting the music trumps the value or the quality of the music. What we can learn from this example is that our own innovations and ideas may suffer a similar fate. They may be very high quality, but because they aren't convenient for people, they will not be championed and adopted. So in the coming slides, we'll take a dive into Nordgren and Chantal's suggestions for managing the law of least effort. In response to the law of least effort, Nordgren and Chantal suggest the use of a roadmap, meaning that we need to provide clear directions for how to roll out the change or innovation. They provide a couple of examples of successful road mapping, including a few concerning voter turnout. To be more specific, the best way to increase voter turnout is to not only spread information about why voting is important, but also ask voters when in the day they will vote, how they will get to the polling place, and where they will be coming from when they leave for the polling station. Notice how these questions identify key logistics for any voter. Those logistics constitute the aforementioned roadmap. For your situation, can you envision parallel questions? To exercise your skills, let's say you're trying to get faculty to use View Statistics software. You can take some time to emphasize the merits of the new software, but to build the roadmap, you might ask faculty to indicate which of their projects will be right for the software, how much time the project should take out of their workday, and where they could go for help if they encounter a problem with the software. These questions make the path for the software adoption clearer. And if the adoption is still unsuccessful, we at least have reason to attribute that to apathy over ambiguity. This next category of addressing effort is called streamlining behavior. When we streamline behavior, we try to remove the blockages that interrupt the change process and/or find different routes to get at the desired outcome. Can you see how this relates to effort? Every blockage is a reason to lose motivation to change, adopt an innovation, or further explore an idea. Sometimes barriers are easy to spot, and sometimes they aren't. For example, Nordgren and Chantal described how a furniture company discovered through in-depth interviews with customers that large online furniture purchases, say for couches, would be a lot easier for the customer if they knew what they would do with their existing couch. In response, the company offered free removal with every couch purchase, and by doing this, removed a major impediment to following through on the purchase. In this example, do you think the blockage was easy or difficult to spot? I don't think there is a right answer to that, but I ask it because we must be realistic about what streamlining behavior calls for, and in some instances, it might involve a lot of investment to identify blockages. In addition to an interview, another example strategy for identifying blockages is an experience timeline. The timeline visually records a user's satisfaction as they encounter an experience or product. A completed timeline features a sine wave where peaks and valleys characterize high and low points in the process. This is useful for seeing where in the process improvements can be made. Once you've identified areas for improvement, it's possible that your response could be removing a blockage, like what we described earlier. But it could also be in the realm of finding a shortcut. For example, according to Hicks' law, plentiful choices on a menu are effortful for people because they have to go over every option to make a decision. So one response would be to categorize options in a meaningful way, maybe creating a different menu for vegetarian options, or separating all fish and seafood dishes from other types of meat dishes. Another response might be to provide fewer options altogether, meaning just one fish dish, one vegetarian option, one beef option, and so on. These responses are different from the couch example because they ease the decision-making process. In the couch example, we aren't facilitating the process. Rather, we are removing the burden or inconvenience associated with the desired decision. In this video, I shared how effort stalls innovation and change. When this friction is at play, individuals will abandon the behaviors necessary for adopting innovations and embracing change, even if the innovation or new idea is valuable. To address this friction, we need to understand why it happens. To that end, I mentioned the law of least effort and even effort calculus to explain the very human motivation to conserve energy and take paths that are easy and convenient. And hopefully, that foregrounding helped you see the logic behind roadmaps and streamlining as strategies for overcoming this friction. Before mentioning highlights of those strategies, it's necessary to provide a counterpart for consideration. There is evidence of people choosing more effortful paths, like spending their free time on arduous hikes and playing challenging games. So why would effort be valued in those sorts of situations? My working theory is that it comes down to choice. When other people are driving the bus and telling you what to change and defining how you have to make that change or when you have to make it by, you will behave in ways that align with the law of least effort and effort calculus, meaning you'll comply if it's not too inconvenient. But if you are driving the bus, and you've had opportunities to design your own path, define your own outcomes and measures of success, then I believe you will find it motivating and satisfying to invest effort into the activity. For more on that train of thought, please refer to the video in this series entitled Reactance as a Friction. Now let's return to the two strategies for minimizing effort. First, we discussed the usefulness of creating roadmaps for people. Because roadmaps identify the steps to completion or adoption, they reduce the effort one would have to invest when muddling through uncharted territory on their own. Recall that creating a roadmap can be as simple as asking questions to help people consider common logistical hiccups that usually take people off course. If you are interested in using this strategy, ask yourself these 3 questions. Can you show people how to implement the desired behavior? Do people know when to perform the desired action? And relatedly, can you specify a marker for when the behavior should be performed? Second, we saw how streamlining behaviors reduce effort by noticing what is blocking one's path to adoption and removing or circumventing those blockages. To get started on streamlining behaviors, ask yourself, what are all the steps a person must take to implement the idea? And based on that answer, where in those steps might you be able to remove blockages, even seemingly small ones? If having an ideal goal in mind helps, consider this example from Disney World. To encourage healthier kids' meals, they made fruit and vegetables the default option for kids' meals, as opposed to fries and soda. To be clear, kids could still get fries and soda, but it had to be requested, amounting to an extra step in ordering, making it the more effortful option. Aligned with the law of least effort, kids tended to accept the default fruits and veggies option. For your situation, can you alter the effort calculus so that the desired behavior is the default option? Thank you for viewing this video on effort as a friction. I hope that the explanations for its power and the discussion of two main strategies for surmounting it have been helpful. Talking about this complicated topic is a lot simpler than practicing it, so when applying these ideas to your situation, questions or concerns may arise. If so, please reach out to the Center for Faculty Development. We'd love the opportunity to lean into your context and customize this work. All of this work is based on Nordgren and Chantal's book, The Human Element. The book is available as an ebook from Seattle University's Lemieux Library. We highly recommend delving into the book for additional background information and examples.